What do we know about the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in the European Union? This year, the European Union is undergoing its second review by the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The committee is checking if the EU made progress on the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities since 2015. The European Network on Independent Living, ENIL, submitted a shadow report to the committee. This video explains what you can find in ENIL's shadow report. ENIL has 6 main concerns. 1. EU funds are still being used to build new institutions for disabled children and adults, including group homes and nursing homes for older people. Many of these institutions practice torture, use of cage beds and straitjackets, and deny basic healthcare. 2. Disabled people are not meaningfully consulted and involved when new EU laws and policies are being made. 3. Disabled people are still being discriminated against because there is no EU anti-discrimination legislation outside the field of employment. 4. Many disabled people are deprived of their legal capacity and have limited access to justice. 5. The monitoring and complaints mechanisms at EU level are not fit for purpose. 6. Many disabled people do not have access to supports and services in the community, including personal assistance, inclusive education, and employment. Here are some examples of human rights violations in the European Union by articles of the Convention. Article 7. Children with disabilities. Violation. Children with disabilities are placed in group homes instead of families. Fact. 149 family-type placement centres were built in Bulgaria in the last decade, funded with more than 100 million euros from EU funds. 70% of the disabled children who left large institutions were moved into group homes. Article 10. Right to life. Violation. The EU has failed to protect the right to life of disabled people in institutional settings. Fact. Deaths in nursing homes accounted for 51% of the total COVID-19 deaths in the Netherlands and 68% of COVID-related deaths in Spain. Article 11. Situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies. Violation. The EU has been funding inherently dangerous institutions. Fact. EU funds have been used to build institutions on floodplains in Hungary, for example, in Kaplan Szent Keresd. Article 12. Equal recognition before the law. Violation. Guardianship is widely used across Europe. Fact. Even in countries where alternatives to guardianship have been deployed, they are rarely used, with guardianship continuing to be the norm rather than the exception. This is the case in Belgium, the Netherlands, and France, for example. Article 14. Liberty and security of persons. Violation. Disabled people are deprived of their liberty and detained against their will in institutions. Fact. Deprivation of liberty intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic, with reports that people in nursing homes were locked in their rooms in countries including Finland, the Republic of Ireland, Spain, and Italy. Article 15. Freedom from torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Violation. Disabled people are tortured in institutions which received EU funds. Fact. EU funds were used to fund a 220-bed institution in Gerd, Hungary, where adults and children were held in metal cage beds and straitjackets. Article 18. Freedom of movement. Violation. Disabled people are denied the right to free movement within the EU because of a lack of portability of social assistance benefits. Fact. While there is coordination among EU member states in relation to social security benefits, there is no such coordination with regard to social assistance benefits under which personal assistance falls. Article 19. Living independently and being included in the community. Violation. EU funds continue supporting different forms of segregated settings. Fact. In the last 10 years, there has been a proliferation of group homes for disabled people in the EU. According to legal advice by the European Commission, member states are allowed to build or renovate institutions with EU funding. Violation. The limited availability of community support options forces many disabled people into residential care. Fact. In Austria, the majority of disabled people live in residential settings. Despite the need for mainstream living arrangements and personal assistance, EU funds have been used to build segregated living facilities for disabled people. Article 23. Respect for home and the family. Violation. Children with disabilities continue to be placed in institutions. Fact. In countries such as France, children with disabilities can be forcibly taken away from their parents and placed in a residential setting. Article 24. Education. Violation. The limited support in community and mainstream schools reinforces segregation of children with disabilities. Fact. At least 75% of children with disabilities in Central and Eastern Europe and Central Asia are excluded from quality inclusive education. Article 25. Health. Violation. Disabled people are being denied essential healthcare. Fact. Reports from Italy suggested that doctors were rationing intensive care treatment during the COVID-19 pandemic based on who was deemed worthy of intensive care. Article 27. Work and employment. Violation. Disabled people are denied employment rights in EU-funded sheltered workshops. Fact. At least €7.5 million of the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development have been used in Austria to build institutions and sheltered employment facilities for disabled people. Article 28. Adequate standard of living and social protection. Violation. Austerity measures have had a disproportionate impact on disabled people. Fact. The austerity measures required by the IMF, European Commission, and the European Central Bank are an example of how European policy places disabled citizens at greater risk of poverty. Article 32. International cooperation. Violation. Very little funding is provided for deinstitutionalization reforms outside the EU. Fact. The EU is the world's largest donor, yet there are very few projects on deinstitutionalization which comply with the requirements of the Convention and genuinely facilitate access to independent living. Article 33. Implementation and monitoring. Violation. The EU is failing to investigate and sanction violations of the Convention. Fact. Despite the strong legal basis provided by the EU's and the Member States' ratification of the CRPD, the European Commission has not found a single breach of EU law in response to the many complaints brought by ENIL and our members. What are our demands to the EU? To urgently stop investing EU funds in institutions of any size, and to support the development of community-based supports and services. To promote better access to personal assistance in all member states to take concrete action to prevent discrimination in all areas, not just employment, to ensure that disabled people have access to justice and are not deprived of legal capacity, to strengthen complaints mechanisms for breaches of EU law, to meaningfully consult and involve disabled people. Join ENIL. Visit www.enil.eu. The making of this video was made possible by the Open Society Foundations and the European Commission.